Good evening, friends, and welcome to Tales from the Fireplace. Who saw Marmaduke lurking in the background there? I don't think I've introduced people to Marmaduke before. I might... Where is he?
What better time than the present?
Right now, it's an odd thing to clutch myself around a... There he is. This is Marmaduke, everybody. If you can see him there. Marmaduke is a tiny little mouse who has made his way into our world. He likes a drink and a smoke, so he just seemed very fitting. It's very soft. When I ultimately pass away, I expect Mrs. Deathly to have me stuffed and mounted on some kind of small wooden plinth. Fag in mouth, glass of wine in hand. I don't smoke.
You don't smoke, do you?
No, but just for the novelty of it, really.
Yes, I will do that.
Yes.
Well, you have told me I'm not allowed to do that with our cats.
No. There's Mrs. Deathly. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, you're not allowed to...
I can't tell if I'm on camera or not.
You are.
You have to have some kind of signal.
You are.
For you to...
We'll get you there.
Okay.
We'll get you. We'll figure it out. We're running out of space for stuff, though. Again, this whole setup, I do feel like I'm flying some kind of terrifying vintage spacecraft. What's happened? What's going on? Oh, they're on the table over there. No, come back. They're in the little thing. Oh, my goodness me. Ashley, thank you very much for reminding us. Yes, hang on. Just bear with us a moment, ladies and gentlemen. We forgot about something. We've been given magnificent gifts. Yes. Oh, they're actually quite snug. How are those working out for you?
Is this on?
It's on. You're on.
Well, they're very comfortable.
They are comfortable, aren't they?
I got a bow on mine as well.
I didn't get a bow. I am absolutely furious of the lack of the bow. So yeah, quick shout out to Ashley, her mum, and of course Charlie the Wonder Dog, who joined me for a Deathly by Daylight tour yesterday. And no one cares. They're just talking about your hair in the comments. It's just loads of people saying, nice hair, nice hair, nice hair, nice hair, nice hair. And I was gifted a wonderful bag of treats, including a lethal amount of chocolate and these magnificent beasts. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
You look so cute, Doss.
I don't know if I can wear them for the whole thing. Because I've got a massive head, as you know. I have a giant skull. And... I do feel like I'm being slowly compressed. They're wonderful, aren't they? They're magnificent. We'll wear them for the first bit, and then we'll have to remove them. Well, you can keep yours on if you want to. I'll take mine off because I can feel my brain starting to leak its way out of my ears. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Tales from the Fireplace, episode 6, which is ridiculous. Isn't that ridiculous? How did that happen?
Well, I mean, it's been like... How many months?
40 years. It's been 40 years. It's been so many, many years. But we're still here. We're still ticking along. Before we begin, a couple of cheeky little shout-outs. I can't see what's on the ears. Oh, so this one says, right, there's a ghost. I've got I think it's a cobweb and a ghost. And then mine say Dorian Deathly. Mrs. Deathly has a ghost, and hers say Mrs. Deathly. No room for the DD, unfortunately. Mrs. DD. All right, Jason Newton, calm down.
Wow.
Absolute savagery.
Wow.
A gargantuan cranium. Yes, pretty much. It's where I keep all my historical knowledge. They have a ghost on a spider web, and then Dorian Deathly and Mrs. Deathly. And they're beautiful. They're beautifully made. They look edible. but we probably shouldn't.
No, I don't think we should.
No, I don't think we should. Yes, before we get tuck into things, a couple of quick shout-outs that I have been requested to do. First of all, I wish to wish a wonderful happy birthday to Sue A. Jones from North Wales, and an equally magnificent birthday to John Scott from yesterday. John Scott from yesterday. HB for yesterday. Very good indeed. Magnifico. We're going to open tonight. It's a slightly different show tonight. We don't have a Victorianly spooky ghost story for you tonight because we got overwhelmed by spooky first-hand stories and whatnot. So we've just kind of stuck all of those in there. We've got a few videos, we've got a few images, and we're just going to make our way through them. Now we're going to begin tonight with... You're off the hook for a while, Mrs. Deathley.
Okay, bye.
I'm very sorry. They're lovely, but I could slowly feel my temples squeaking and some kind of fluid coming out of the base of my neck. So probably best that I don't wear them forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. So we're going to start tonight with something a little bit different, actually. We've started receiving artwork, which is very cool, and we've made a promise to share some of it with you. And this is the first one. This one was sent in by Deb, and this was sent in via Instagram. Now, we've sent the image of my stupid gurning face once before, and she's now turned it into a 3D pop-up card. Is that right? Some kind of, magnificent 3D pop-up card that's made use of the ghostly badges as well there. So that's very cool. Someone's just asked, has the Marmite jar gone? No, it's here. It's just, I've just put my hand in a candle. Oh my goodness me. Yes, it's lurking there in the background. The Marmite jar will always be here. But that's beautiful. Look at that little pop-up card there. That's fantastic. What else have we sent? Oh, this. Well, this was sent to us by Amy Wilson quite a while ago, actually, wasn't it? We've got the physical manifestation of this living in our office at the moment. I've got a slightly closer photo. It's incredibly busy. You've got Clifford's Tower there, Micklegate Bar, the Knaves Mire, executions, plagues, murders, pestilence, and so much more. And then you've got a wonderful, very lifelike drawing. She's got my nose right, the size of that massive, massive deathly beak there. Wonderfully done. Well, thank you for that, Amy. I'm a big fan of that one. And she also sent us in... Amy sends us in quite a lot of things, and unfortunately we can't include all of them. But this one is something that Amy sent in to us that particularly struck a chord with Mrs. Deathley. It's a recipe for thieves entitled The Hand of Glory, and I'm going to read it out loud for you. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the severed right hand of a hanged man, remove all tendons and fat. I'm already quite hungry, to be honest. Dry the hand in a mixture of salt, pepper and saltpeter, then smoke it in a chimney for at least 3 weeks. In the meantime, form the fat from the hand into a small candle. When the hand is prepared, take to the house of a rich person and place the hand on the doorstep with the candle in the palm of the hand. Light it and repeat the following lines. Let those who rest more deeply sleep. Let those awake their vigils keep. O hand of glory, shed their light. Guide us to our spoil tonight. The people in the house will immediately fall into a deep slumber. The locks will open, and the housebreaker may carry out his crime with no danger of detection. You were a big fan of that one, weren't you?
Yeah, it's messed up, isn't it?
It is quite messed up.
I love it.
It's quite a contrived one. Just I don't know. It just seems like a lot of effort. Just wait till I've gone out. And
yes,
then go in. Just wait till they've gone out.
It's good though.
It is very good. Yeah. The people are saying that there are hands all over the place.
Louise said she saw one. Oh,
lovely.
Interesting.
Well, of course we have. Is it Margaret Clitheroe's hand? Is in the.
Oh yeah.
Is stored in York. You can actually go. Yeah, lovely.
That's right.
Have a little wander around and see a severed hand in a box for your entry fee. That's very nice.
Severed hand. Oh, there's one behind you, actually.
There is a severed hand behind me. We don't talk about it, though, because we just don't want people to know where it came from. Just don't talk about it. Just don't talk about it. What was I thinking it reminded me of? Oh, yes, it reminded me of, it says that what I like interesting is the housebreaker may carry out his crime with no danger of detection. I'm a big fan of crimes without detection. And I've often said the whole thing about to murder a man, you need nothing more than a long sock and a chocolate orange.
Yeah.
Yeah. Freeze your orange, pop it in a football sock, wallop them around the head a bit, eat the orange, wash the sock. No evidence. Yeah. A criminal mastermind. It's debatable. It's debatable. Anyway, let's crack on. It's 12 minutes past 8. Just a quick thing. As always, this is free to watch, but do feel free to tip into the virtual tip jar. You'll see the address down at the bottom there. Virtual tip jar, paypal.me/Dorian Deathly. Or better yet, join me for an actual live tour. I'm going to be talking at the end of the show tonight about the plans that we've got for Halloween. It's a busy October already. We're starting to fill up nicely with all kinds of private hires and whatnot. Who does that say? Waste of a chocolate orange. Rich Davis, didn't I eat the chocolate orange? So not only are you using it as a murderous implement, you're then eating the orange afterwards, which, if anything, is bonus usage. Waste of a chocolate. Do I look like a man who would waste a chocolate orange? There you go. So our first story tonight actually comes from Carly Smith. Now, if you joined us in our last episode, you will know that we talked about Alan Smith and the Drake Low Tunnels callback. Carly tells us that she went into Drake Low Tunnels with her dad. Just to quickly remind you, I do have the photo of the tunnels here. There you go. Excellent. Excellent. And then we have a photo of Carly's dad, Alan. If you remember last week, the last Fireplace episode, we were talking about how people thought that smoke and mist looked a bit like a highwayman or a praying mantis, some people thought. Mrs. Deathley's
nicking off with his crutches.
Evil praying mantis swooping in,
like a praying mantis,
stealing the old clutches there.
Like, I'll have these crutches, bloody hell!
I'm going to take in these clutches; they're going to be mine.
Clutches.
I got too excited about the idea of a praying mantis running away into the corridors. So Carly tells us that when she went to Drake Low Tunnels with her dad, she was in the kitchen in a group who were trying to reach out to spirits, which is asking for trouble, really, when all of a sudden she became very angry and urgent. She just wanted to scream for everyone to get out of the kitchen, which she did, and she ended up having to leave as the feeling was so strong. Carly said that they left the area and the feeling left as quickly as it had come on. Talking with my dad, he said there was once an explosion in there, and therefore a sort of violent residue had been left behind. Now, that to me, I'm coming back to you, Mrs. Deathley, that to me speaks of clairsentience.
Oh, you love that word, don't you?
I do, because obviously over the last few years, we've been to odd places, and you particularly feel susceptible to changes in mood and atmospheric, and I'm not as that way inclined. And it's from doing this and talking to people who know quite a lot about this side of things that you are quite clairsentient. Like when we went into the antique centre, and we were downstairs in the lower room, and you were very, very much not a fan. But then when we went upstairs into the top rooms, even I felt really calm and at peace with it. Yeah, and it was so still, wasn't it? It was so
really unusual room.
It was a very strange place to be.
But yeah, it's interesting to know that people get that.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
That's clairsentience.
Oh no, not this again.
That's pareidolia. There you go. So yeah, I think it's interesting how people who are a little bit more open and susceptible to things like that, they do get a very interesting vibe from that kind of places. So yeah, that's interesting. It's interesting that happened to Carly, and the fact that she went to places and felt that her father had been, and there was that connection there. So that was interesting. Was interesting. Margaret Breen says, "You and me both, this is D." Yeah, I was talking to the people I did the private hire with yesterday, and Ashley's mother was saying that she's kind of got a similar vibe. She kind of gets a kind of sensation from certain places. So yeah. Anyway, we're going to move on to we've got loads of stories to crack through tonight. So this is one that was sent in by Holly Thackeray. Now she sent us in. A couple of people today have sent in 2 or 3 stories, and we've made a selection of them, and some of them are so fantastic that we've featured them twice. So aren't they lucky? The first one is from Holly Thackeray, and it's entitled "The Underground Stockroom." So straight away, no thanks. Now, Holly says, and these, if you're new to the show, these are read as written. So they're normally in first hand. So if I introduce a story, then I start saying I and me and whatnot. It's written in their words. It's not me, it's them. So there you go, that should make sense. I used to work for a large clothing company in Leeds city centre as part of the stockroom team. The shifts I used to do were 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. and 10 p.m. to 2 p.m. So obviously the shop's closed and empty when I went in for my shift. The company had recently installed motion sensor lights in a massive underground stockroom, and I was more often expected to put stock away in the room that was a corridor away from the main processing area. There was on average around 20 people that worked the night shift over 3 floors doing various tasks. One night I was putting stock away in the far stockroom, and the motion-activated lights several bays down from me lit up, and I could hear the sound of clothes hangers moving around. Someone had pushed past them. It's quite a distinctive sound. You know that sound of metal coat hangers moving around on the metal railings? You're going to try and replicate it. Can you get your microphone a bit closer? Give us a replication of some live sound effects. There it is, beautifully. I didn't have you on camera then. Let's have it one more time. Let's have those coat hangers flap around. Yeah, got to give the people what they want. Fine work, Mrs. D. 10 out of 10.
I'm
ruffling my clothes.
Many jackets.
But Holly exited the bay. I exited the bay I was in, walked towards the rail with the items on, and saw a person standing there. So I put my hands up and started to say hi, only for the figure to disappear. Now, I assumed that they had gone into one of the other bays. I searched the entire stockroom and couldn't find the person I thought it was. I asked him at the end of the shift, and none of the other staff had been in the stockroom all night long. Another instance in the same area, I was at the top of a ladder, which was approximately 4 meters tall, and I saw something at the bottom of the ladder out of the corner of my eye. Again, I turned to ask a work-related question, and there was no one there. I was stuck up that ladder for around 10 minutes before I felt I could climb down safely. My partner also worked at the same place and once chased a figure up some stairs only for it to disappear at the top. The only door at the top couldn't be opened from within the stairwell as it was a fire escape. The door also made a very loud and distinctive noise when opened, which had not occurred. Anyway, I swear my manager hated me as he kept putting me back in the stockroom alone, even though he knew I didn't like him. Yeah, he totally hated you. That's mean. That's mean. If someone in there is having a bad time, knowing there's something quite spooky in there, then why would you send them back into it? Mean, right?
Yeah.
You're a manager. Is that something you'd do to somebody?
No.
No. You're a good manager, though. I think you should wear those ears to work.
I think I might.
Yeah. Bit of free promotion. Just trot around.
They're lovely. They're very comfortable.
Pam Oxley says the hand behind me is so scary. We don't talk about the hand behind me. Next story comes from Margaret Breen. Now, Margaret's sent us in a few stories over the weeks, and this is actually one of my favourite ones. I've entitled it Adventures in Babysitting, which is a great film from some years ago. Margaret writes, I was babysitting for my sister and her husband in her old Edwardian house as they had 3 young children. The house was one of those old types of houses which had, at one time, had a housekeeper or a nanny. The building had 3 floors with 2 half floors in between each one. I had never, ever felt comfortable in the house, especially on the top floor, which I think had possibly been a nursery. Due to the distance, I used to sleep over, particularly as they used to come home very late. One night I was in the dining room, and you know that feeling when you can sense you're being watched? Well, I turned around and I was speechless. Standing there in the open doorway of the room was a shadowy figure. The door had been closed, but it was now open. The doors were old and heavy. They would not swing open in a breeze, and it was a still and quiet night. I stood staring at this figure, and then it just vanished. I rushed into the hall thinking someone had been stood just outside the door, casting a shadow, maybe one of the children, but no one was there. I went up to the floor where the children were, but they were all sound asleep. All the doors were locked. I double-checked them, and I was the only person in the house apart from the children. I went back into the dining room and returned to where I had stood trying to make sense of what I had seen. I thought about if someone had been stood outside the door, reasoned that the shadowy figure was standing independently on the floor within the room. If it had been the shadow of someone across the doorway, then their shadow would have been stretched down across the floor. Over the years, I've tried to debunk the sighting, but to this day, I cannot think of any answers to what I saw. As I say, I have never, ever felt comfortable in the house, but I'd never experienced anything unusual on many of the times that I'd stayed there before. Over to you, Mrs. D.
Hello.
How do you feel about that one? Anything?
I'm really sorry, but I was trying to deal with something on
some drama.
Messages, yeah, so I wasn't really paying attention to that one.
Oh,
Busted.
No. Oh, no. Well, I'll read it.
All the stories
I'll read
already.
it to you later on. But it was the one from Margaret about saying that there was the figure in the doorway.
Oh, yeah.
It reminds me of something that happened to yours truly when I was younger. And I mentioned a lot that this house in Scarborough that I grew up in. Do you know, I genuinely, I bang on about this house all the time. And I sometimes wonder, like, I wonder if I could get in there. I could contact them and say, hey, I lived in this house 20 years ago. Can I maybe just come in and talk about some stuff? I mean, probably not is going to be the answer. Who are you? Get off my front lawn. But there was a short period of time where, being a teenage boy, I wanted to have my bedroom as far away from my parents as possible, as most teenagers tend to do. You want the distance, don't you? You love them, but at the same time, you're like... Yeah. And this back bedroom that was built into half of the slope where the garden was, it had one of those, like a frosted glass window in the door.
Well, they're terrifying to
which are horrible.
With. Yeah.
And on a few occasions, I would wake up in the night and I would be in that kind of half awake, half sleep feeling, and I would feel like I would see someone stood at the frosted glass window, like a fuzzy silhouette, just staring at me. And then I'd kind of do that sort of second, that start, wake up again. Yep. And you weren't entirely sure, do you know what I mean, whether or not you'd seen something and you felt a little bit... But it happened a lot of times, and I think it's maybe one of those, like, imagination things. Like, recently I've been having... weird waking nightmares, haven't I? About waking up and having loads and loads and loads of really bad reviews on TripAdvisor, which is stupid. But I keep having this very, and I'll be like, oh my God, and then I'll actually wake up for real and I have to double check. And it's kind of like that. Like I got in my head that there was something there. And really strange, really strange. Thank you, Margaret, for sending that in. It's photo time. It's photograph time. Okay, so before we go over to this, I'll give it a bit of context first. So this was sent by Karen Rickett over Facebook. This is the one from the Railway Museum.
Yes.
Thank you, Karen. I've got... Oh, hang on a minute. I'm confused now. I've got Karen, and then it says Kath. I don't want to offend them.
Kath Rossiter.
No, Kath Rossiter is a different one.
Karen was the train.
Okay, so I've got... Okay, so not Kath... Okay, so I'll change it. Karen sent us this picture. He must have autocorrected something, that she took of her brother in front of a train at the National Railway Museum in York. Now, if you don't know, National Railway Museum is a wonderful museum, and it's got loads of trains in there that you can go and have a little bit of a wander around. You're not really allowed... Some you can go in and investigate and have a clamber around. A lot of them, they're actually cordoned off. You're not allowed to go in there. And she took a photo of her brother stood in front of a train at the Railway Museum, and she swears that there was nobody on the train. But if you look at the photo I'm about to show you, you can see it appears that there are two men, one in white and one in black, standing in the carriage. They appear to be wearing quite modern clothing, which, of course, immediately when we saw the photo, we kind of pushed back a little bit and said, are you sure there wasn't anybody in the train? And she said that, no, there wasn't anybody in the train. It was closed off. You weren't allowed in it. That's the reason why the photograph was taken in front of the train and not with him in it. So here we go. This is the first version of it here. So you can just maybe make out. They're very clear. And then we'll just go in a little bit closer. Yeah, I can see there's a fellow in the white just by the door there. But you can actually see there's the metalwork there that stops people from getting in. And then there's a fella in black with a maybe open shirt in the window there. It's an interesting one. It's interesting because the thing is with no context, you're going to look at that and you're just going to say it's just some people in a train.
Do you know what though?
Go on.
Do you know what?
Do I know what?
I think it could be a case of pareidolia.
Pareidolia? Go on.
Well, I mean, I'm not seeing facial features, but I can see what looks like.
The sort of round of a head and...
I see. A man in a white T-shirt.
Yep.
With a camera strap over his shoulder.
Okay.
With white hair. But also, it looks like his T-shirt carries on and that looks like a barrier in front of him, but the T-shirt is somehow in front of it. I don't know. And then on the right...
Well, I think those barriers, I've not been to the Royal Museum in a couple of years, but those barriers, I think that they've got the holes cut in the top of them so you can lift them up. There's like a small handle cut into the metalwork.
Eleanor, is that the Pope?
David Towner, aren't they people cardboard cutouts? Well, this is the thing, is Karen...
No, Karen says there's nobody on the train.
Karen, yeah, coming back over to you, Mrs. Lee. Karen says that there was nobody on the train. They took the photograph... They saw the people and they looked and there was nobody there. There was nobody there. She promises us there was nobody there. No cardboard cutouts, no people, nothing to explain it. That's why we've included it. Because they say at first sight, when you see it, you immediately go, well, it's just people on the train, don't you? It's just people on the train. But then Karen was so firm that there was nobody on the train, and that's why you weren't allowed in the train. It was all sealed off, and that's why they took the photo there. And not on the train itself. Interesting.
Yeah, that's funny because everybody's seeing different things. So that says to me that's pareidolia.
That's pareidolia. Well, thank you, Karen, for sending that in. We're going to move on to a little video now. This is sent to Mrs. Deathley by Paul Andrew Bowden, and it is at a lovely little pub in York, which is called, I say lovely little pub, it's massive, which is the Light Horsemen pub on Fulford Road. Now, I think I've got a photograph of there it is. That's the Light Horsemen right there, I believe. I've never actually been to this one. So the Light Horseman pub dates back to the 1870s. It was built by Walter Greenpenty after the Crimean War. It was named the Light Horseman after the cavalry regiments that were based at the nearby barracks. And it's believed that at some point the building was used entirely, completely taken over and used as an officers' mess. It's 2 stories. It's built in white brick. It's got 8 bay windows running along the front, and there are 2 entrances visible to the public. So the video is just here, and I just want to point, this is taken from the Press, which is the York paper, and this actually got quite a lot of notoriety as it went out. A lot of people started seeing this. Now we get a lot of people saying, we hear the word orbs a lot, don't we? We get orbs. People have said that they've seen floating images on our live streams. Last night I ran the public tour that I did. I had a couple and they said, can we film a lot of the tour, but not you? So they were actually filming areas around me.
Okay.
And I sort of was like, as long as you're not going to broadcast it onto the internet or take all of the dialogue and everything. And they said, no, we just want to film areas as you're talking about them to see what they could see. They said the night before when they were walking down Grape Lane, she'd filmed her husband, and he said they showed me the video, and there loads of little tiny little orbs floating around Grape Lane above him, which is interesting. So this one here goes up the staircase.
So I think this is a classic case of CCTV on video, where it's got a previous image over it.
Okay.
What do you reckon? Because it looks like someone going up the stairs, doesn't it?
No, it's an odd one, because obviously I do a lot of photography and a lot of videography, and I know the sort of science behind what can cause an orb. Light reflecting off a dust particle. It's the movement that's strange. Tess Humphrey says, I think I can see a faint outline of a person going up the stairs. Maybe the orb is a white backpack. Was it filmed on VHS where it's worn down tape? That's exactly what Mrs. Deathley just said. Now, I think that it does look like quite an old CCTV system. So it could well be that it's just simply media echo. It's just a leftover recording that's been overlaid on top of it. But it's interesting how much notoriety. It's the way that it sort of comes round. Is he going to go again? Wait for it to go again.
There was a news story about it, and it said the landlady said she heard something downstairs. It was like just before breakfast would have started, but there was nobody in yet, and she couldn't find anything when she went downstairs. But then she looked back on CCTV and she saw this.
So there's a whole press article about it, wasn't there? Well, we'll find that and we'll post it up on the page so people can have a little bit of a read of it themselves, make up their own minds. Well, yeah, thank you to Paul for sending that over to us. Now, he said that he stayed at the pub in December 2006, And although he didn't experience anything while he was there, he did find this video online and wanted to know what we think. As you say here, there's also a news report from the York Press in which the landlady said she heard noises downstairs, couldn't see anything, and when she watched back the CCTV, that is what she found. Interesting. Interesting. The next one is actually from Craig Thompson. Craig messaged us to tell us about a strange experience his mother had a few weeks ago in the depths of Lendel Cellars in York while she popped in for a quick drink with her other son, Craig's brother, and his wife. Now, if you don't know much about Lendel Cellars, it's one of my favourite pubs in York. I have not been in for far too long, but when I was in my late 20s, early 30s, I spent a lot of time in there because it was just one of the favourite places we would go. It's just off St Helens Square, near where Betty's Tea Rooms is. I think Jamie's restaurant.
Yeah, Jamie's Italian.
Jamie's Italian. It's not. I think it's closed now. I don't think it's still open. I think it all went into liquidation or something. But anyway, they built that on top of it. But the cellars have remained, which is very cool. The cellars are. I can show you the. Just show you the outside of the pub here. How tempting is that? So you go down the steps there.
All the images today.
And you are underground. And this is Lendel Cellars. Look at that. I've accidentally included some fish and chips in the corner of the picture there, and I'm really hungry. Someone says, yes, Jamie's Italian went pop. Oh, that's a shame. I mean, I never tried it, but it's any Italian food no longer being available is upsetting. So yeah, that is the so that's down. So there's one flight of stairs. You come in through the front door, and then you've got the bar, and then you come down. You can see on the little right hand side there's a set of stairs, and that brings you into the cellars. I have cracked my head on those archways too many times.
That does not surprise me.
Of course it doesn't. Of course
you bang your head on pretty much everything.
It's a lovely little pub, and it has the smell this room has.
Well, it actually looks quite a lot like this room in ways, doesn't it? There's a lot of little, like, celery places.
Yeah, so we're down here in the in our office, and actually our intern, Daphne, has found out a bit of information about the building dating back to early 1900s, that it was a butcher's. Mm-hmm. So that's interesting.
Daphne, who's hiding somewhere.
She's in here somewhere.
In the basement.
Not sure where. Nobody move. Nobody move. You never know where she's going to be. But anyway, the thing that happened in there was as follows. It seems that while Craig's brother was ordering at the bar, another customer had bought a pint of ale. Cheers. And carried it across the room to his table. He placed a pint in the centre of the table and went to remove his coat. And as he did, the pint of ale shot vertically up into the air with quite some force, my mother claims, and dropped to the stone floor, shattering everywhere. I've knocked a couple of pints over in Lendel Cellars, and there's no way that, because it's like flagstone floors.
Wait, you've knocked a couple of pints over in Lendel Cellars?
Over the years, accidentally, not
a couple.
I've not just gone in and flipped a table. I've not just gone in and just kicked off a riot, but it's nice ale in there, and sometimes it goes a bit quick, and then
interesting.
Yeah. It just all runs out. The less we say about it, the better. But, I was a student in York once upon a time, and, things happen. Things get out of hand.
Go on.
When the chap brought this to the attention of the nearby waitress, she questioned whether he had knocked it off with his coat or knocked the table, and he was absolutely adamant that he had not knocked or touched anything. The waitress seemed a little bit disbelieving until Craig's mother got involved. Now, she'd witnessed the incident and vouched for the chap's explanation, and it was then, and only then, that the waitress claimed that they do seem to have some peculiar goings-on at that particular table. So obviously, they've been told by the management, don't let people know. Don't let people know about that spooky table, because it's costing us a bloody fortune. Because I suppose if you knock a pint over, it's your fault. You've got to go buy another one. Whereas if a ghost is in there, it's just literally chucking your bloody pints in the sky like a proper wrong-un.
So maybe you didn't actually.
Maybe I didn't. Maybe I was always.
Pints.
I'd be interested to know which table, because we always bagged the same table. You can't. Where's it gone? Where's it gone? You can't. So you can see the image there. Those are the steps coming down, and then if you turn left and kind of go into the bottom left corner of this image, there were some tables down there, and that's where we always like to get, because it was like a little tucked away corner bit. That was our favourite spot.
I remember going in there, but I can't remember the layout of it.
Yeah,
I
that was
remember
our
thinking,
favourite spot.
I'm really freaked out because I'm like pretty much under the river right now.
I don't know if you are.
Yeah.
Not all the way under it.
Well, no.
I mean, you might be below ooze level.
Yeah. Blues
level, under the River Ouse, also known as the River Water. I told that last night. I said River Ouse, also known as the River Water, and this one chap found it. It's like the most hilarious thing he'd ever heard. There you go. So thank you very much to Craig for sending that in. I think Craig came on my tour a few weeks back. So yeah, thank you very much for sort of following up. And that's more. That's happening more and more. People, I'm telling people at the end of the tour, you can go on, join me on the Facebook page, join me and Mrs. Deathley, and we do these odd things every Sunday night, and it's great that it's all connecting up and carrying over. There are people coming on the tours who've seen the live streams and whatnot, and vice versa. So, this is a good one. So this is a story that was sent in by Angie Howard, and it's titled "The Death Rooms."
I want to say that we made these names.
Yeah, we've made these names. We've made the same, like the Death Rooms. The Death Rooms. Sharon, that is Lendel Cellars, which is just off of St Helens Square. If you've been to, you live near York. You should get yourself in there. So Angie had a spooky experience about 20 years ago that she shared with us via the Facebook, and she writes, I worked in a beautiful old building in the northwest near Southport, which dated back to around 1876 and at one time had been used as a Victorian spa and hotel, but had been taken over in World War II to be used for the registration of the British population. In the basement of the building were stored the original books that local registrars around the country used for registering births, marriages and deaths in their towns. Occasionally we would have to venture down into the basement to look up for an original entry into one of the books, for example, if the scanned version was too faded to read. Now, when you went into the basement, there was a long corridor with rooms off of it. The rooms had one open doorway in, and the lights worked on a sensor, so came on when you entered the room. The lights worked on this sensor in the main corridor too, so as you walked down the corridor, the lights would come on and go off behind you. Already I have problems with this. I can see so many horrific problems here. There was a glow in the dark arrows on the... okay, sorry, I'll read that again. There were also glow-in-the-dark arrows on the floor, so you could find your way back out to the stairs easily, as the basement was quite big, and it was a bit of a maze down there. Now, one time I had to go down to visit one of the death rooms, as we called the rooms which housed the death registers. To make it worse, the death rooms were the furthest back away from the exit. I mean, of course they are. If you've got rooms called the death rooms, you're going to stick it in the arse end of the basement, aren't you? Right in the darkness. So I walked down the corridor and I found the room I needed. I noticed that the room a bit further down, however, had a light on, and I saw the shape of someone sitting in the room. I just assumed someone else had gone down to the basement before me to look something up. I found what I needed and then went back out to the corridor. The room I had seen earlier was now in darkness, but if anyone had been in there, they would have had to walk past the room I was in, as that was the only way out, and the corridor lights would have come on, but they didn't. There was nobody in the room, and nobody had come past me. I have never run out and up the stairs so fast in my entire life. I have no idea why the light was on in that room or what figure I saw in there, but it really freaked me out, and for ages after, I would not go down to the basement on my own. I still wonder what it was I saw, or if I should have investigated further. Look at that face. Look at that very unhappy face.
Big fat
nopes. N's to the O's to the P's to the E's.
I have a problem with automatic lights.
Yeah, me too.
There's a couple in my workplace that I do not appreciate. Yeah. You know, when an automatic light comes on and you don't think there's anyone that's done it, and
the horror.
Many times.
The mild horror. Now, for some reason, this reminded me of the Bowes Morel in York, and I'm going to show you a photo of
that little building.
The Bowes Morel. It's like a little, I don't know, it's like a little peppermint. It's like a little black and white stripy peppermint. Just,
that's cute.
I don't know why. Like a little mint humbug, maybe. That's what I'm trying to... Little black and white mints. It's an old timber frame building, dating back to 1396, and it stands near Walngate Bar. I think it's some kind of offices now. Over the years, it's changed hands many, many, many times. And I was told a story, and it might be absolute red-hot nonsense, but I was told a story by somebody that worked in there about 15, 20 years ago. Now, just to clarify, on my live tours, I often say this, all the stories that I talk about are either pulled out of history books or they're stories that have been told to me by somebody or I found them in a book. I even open my tour with the story of Quacks the printers, the story of how when they moved in the original printing presses, not the original ones, but like some original printing presses, very old printing presses, they had to remove them in flatbed lorries and whatnot. And I was genuinely flyering at the top of Grape Lane when a man walked up to me and he told me the story. And he showed me some photographs. Did I tell you about this? I never told you this had happened.
No, I don't think you did.
And he told me this wonderful story about how when they were stood there, and you know what? I'm not going to tell you the story because you've got to come on my tour to hear it. Ha! Savage. But that's where all the stories come from. All the stories come from somewhere else. I don't make anything up for the tours. Nigel Walker's just commented there. Lendel Cellars was built on part of an old monastery and a skeleton was found there. Nigel is actually another tour guide who lives in York and works in York, and I believe you're offering private hire. So if you've done my tour, go and do Nigel's as well as a bonus, because obviously do mine first, because apologies, Nigel, I have to promote my own sort of business first, but Nigel's a cracking tour guide, and if you want to spice things up a little bit and have 2 ghost tours, why not? Do both. Do them both in the same weekend. I'm going to quickly sort of get myself back on track then, but there's a tangent I want to go off quickly onto that Nigel's just made me think about. Help me, Mr. Deathley, what was I talking about?
Bowes Morel.
Bowes Morel, yes, the Bowes Morel. So
this is part of what I do.
This is Mrs. Deathley's job is steering me back on track. So the Bowes Morel, as you can see, is a very original building, and apparently there was there's a door frame that had a very old door that was now a stationery cupboard, and if anybody went in there on their own, the door would heavily close because it was on sort of slightly warped hinges. It would close itself off, click into place, and then nobody could open it from the inside. And then they'd call for help. Obviously, modern times, you get your little telephone out and you summon help from down below, and someone just comes and unlocks the door with no resistance at all. And that was the interesting thing, that it would often encase people within. They couldn't open it from the inside, but people from the outside could open it with no drama at all. And I don't know why, but the story of the death rooms put me in mind of that. I don't know why. It just
naughty doors.
Naughty doors. Naughty doors. But yes. But very quick tangent. As Nigel just said, Lendel Cellars was built on part of an old monastery and a skeleton was found there. One thing else I sort of always push on my tours is that how York has got something like 600,000 corpses beneath its streets now. And a couple of our friends came on the tour the other night on Friday, and one of them told me how this is genuinely a thing that had happened. They've renovated their kitchen, and when they were digging down, when the workmen were digging down into the kitchen, they found a skull. And they went down a little bit further, and they found about 2 or 3 remains of human bodies, various parts of. And I've often said, this is what happens in York. If you dig down deep enough, you're going to find something. I have absolutely no doubt that if we dug down into the earth beneath us right now, we'd find something.
Definitely.
York is built upon a foundation of the dead.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'd love to dig up some bits of York.
Let's go.
I mean, we'll probably get told off.
Probably shout it out a little bit.
Loud. Yeah.
So this is an interesting one. So just sort of a nice tangent that we're talking about the tours a little bit. Kath Rossiter joined me for a tour a couple of weeks ago, and there's a part where we go through Bedern and we stop at St Andrew's Church, and I talk about the story of... There's a bricked-up doorway at St Andrew's Church that is reminiscent of the story of the Grey Lady of York being bricked up inside of the Theatre Royal. And while I was telling the story about this lovely old nun who was bricked up alive inside of a windowless room in the Theatre Royal, Kath took a couple of photos from the end of Bedern back towards the York Minster, which is not far from where the theatre stands. And this occurred. So if you just look there between the towers, you'll notice there's a little orange glow, and it's directly above the street lamp. And I know that's something immediately people are going to see this and they're going to go, well, it's just a little lens flare from the street lamp. and that's all it is. But then, it moves, which is interesting, and it becomes like a little lightning bolt shape, which it's very strange. So there's the first photograph, and then there's the second one. Just odd, right?
Yeah, because you'd think, right, my initial thought was, yeah, it's some kind of... But can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I turned it on or not. Something to do with the lights, right? But none of the lights are blurred to suggest that the camera's moving when it's taken. So
No.
Why is that? That's weird.
And go back to it. The angle of it in the first one, it when I first saw it, it kind of, yeah. My first initial thought was, because this came through quite late at night, and we were sort of on the sofa watching a film, and I opened up the first one. I went, oh, okay, and immediately when things like this pop up, we always look for the explanation, don't we? That's the thing we always do. Because, we did an entire episode of Tales from the Fireplace, which we dedicated to debunking things. So...
Sorry, I was just reading the comments. People are saying there's something on the chimney.
This is great. I love this. I love that people are trying to find out. People are like,
oh my God, my face. I've just seen my face. I'm so sorry.
You've just seen your face. I've just seen your face. People are like, what have we got there? It's an inverted reflection of the street lamp within the lens. You can see the second lamp weak off to the left. Okay. Yeah. Someone said paper lantern. The timing's just great. And again, pareidolia, perhaps. People see what they want to see. I think it's great. I think they're great. All that aside, Kath, they're bloody lovely photos of the Minster.
Yeah.
And that's something a lot of people often ask me, how do I get back into town? I don't know where I am. I'm really, really lost. I just go, look up. And if you see that beautiful old bird, there she is.
Don't talk about me like that.
Oh, Tess Humphrey. In July 1984, lightning hit the Minster. Ghost lightning.
Well, there we have it.
There is a phenomenon called ball lightning. I believe that 1984 was the instant when the lightning hit the Minster. Is that when they had to the helicopter had to come over and drop like a small lake?
I've seen pictures of that
on top of the Minster to stop it from burning down.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you very much for, as Mrs. Deathley has called them, Trouble Sky. 2 pictures of Trouble Sky, Trouble Banter Sky. Thank you, Kath. I hope you enjoyed the tour.
Oh, Kath's there in the comments.
So we're moving on now to a second story from Holly Thackeray. This is called Lectures and Wine. I went to the University of Bradford, and every Tuesday they held a late lecture with a guest speaker, usually from outside of the university. This would include snacks and wine. Oh, I love snacks. And Mrs. Deathley just nodding away in the corner there. Snacks and wine. Usually from outside the university, this would include snacks and wine after the lecture as an opportunity to mingle and discuss the lecture and theories to generally catch up. The night would generally go on pretty late. The department was situated in an old Victorian mill with 3 floors. Hold up a minute. What university is having parties in old Victorian mills where you have snacks and wine? I want a refund for my degree. What a waste of time.
Did she say Bradford? No,
Yeah.
Leeds.
University of Bradford. I'm enrolling. Mature student coming in hot. None of the original machinery remained, and the space had been divided into a maze of narrow corridors, dead ends and loops. For one of the lecture nights, me and my husband, a few friends had volunteered to do the catering. Basically, keep the wine flowing. Yes. What was that noise? Wine. We were in a kitchen area, cleaning up and chatting away. There were 2 doors leading out, one into a small reception hall and another leading out into the access corridor that ran the length of the building. For security, the latter was always kept locked. While cleaning and talking, all 3 of us stopped at the exact same moment and looked towards the locked door. My husband ran out of the room and into the corridor. He came back a few moments later and tried the door handle, finding that it was still locked. It didn't take us long to realise that we'd all seen the same thing. We had all seen, out of the corner of our eyes, the locked door open. A figure had peeked around the corner before rushing out. My husband had run to cut off whoever was in there, but found an empty corridor. A quick search turned up only one other person on the entire floor who had just been outside, the only access to this part of the building, and they had seen no one else come or go. Later, when talking to security, we found out a little more. Now, the security guards had often reported seeing movement on the floor. Late at night, when the building has been confirmed as locked and empty, figures have been seen rushing past windows before disappearing without a trace. Unfortunately, the building has since been demolished. Holly's just said that in the comments. Otherwise, it would have been a great place for a paranormal investigation. There was another instance where it was me and a female friend, and we were heading to the only unlocked door after a late lecture, and we heard steps coming up from the basement where one of the conservation labs was. We stopped and looked at each other and said, we'll wait for them, and then we'll all head out of the door together. Due to the way the door locked, they would have had to wait a bit before they would be able to open the door again. The stairs were staggered, so there were hard surface steps, then a carpeted landing. The more hard surface steps, was a difference in footstep noises. We waited as we heard the footsteps change from the hard surface to the carpet and then back to the hard surface as the individual made their way up the stairs. I remember thinking to myself, we'll see them in a minute. We've got to see them in a minute. They were going to get closer and closer. Then the footsteps reached the corridor in front of us and started heading towards us with nobody there. I'm not going to lie, we ran so very, very fast.
I'll be honest, I'm throwing a hard nope at that again. Oh, wow.
Excuse me, that was something was trying to...
Yeah, that's scary. Oh, my God.
Something
I know
was
the
trying
kind of thing, though, like...
That was really strange, because the more intense the story got, the more I got this really overwhelming urge to cough. And it was tickling away, and I was like, I've got to make it.
You made it, well done. But yeah, that's a really strong... A good story for, like, building the image in your mind, isn't it? Because you can... imagine the footsteps.
Yes.
And, oh, God, getting closer and then there's nothing there. What?
That reminds me as well of... so I went to York St John University as Mrs. D did.
I did?
Long before we met each other. And I got lured in because they had a lovely old theatre with the stained glass window. That would have been there when you were there, I think. Mm-hmm, and I looked around the university, had this magnificent theatre. And at the time, I wanted to be a theatre director. That was the career path I wanted to go on. And I saw this amazing old theatre with all this incredible opportunity, and they said, yeah, we get to use it, and then they tore it down the year I started.
Rude.
I know, rude, right? Rude. Absolute savagery. Anyway, I'm going to accelerate a bit because we're about 2/3 of the way through. I think we're all right for time. About 2/3 of the way through and about 2/3 of the way through the show. So, good job we didn't include a story tonight because we wouldn't have time for it. Although this is a great one. This is almost a story. So this is from Deborah Contessa, and she sent us in something like this before. And what Deborah does is she takes a personal experience that happened to her, but she stylizes it in the form of a story, which I'm a huge fan of. So here we go. Tightly grasping each other's hands, we quickly scrambled up the steep incline, our pathway choked by brambles and weeds. Leslie yelled as a thorn bush encircled her ankle, tripping her and causing pinpricks of fresh blood to appear on the crisp white socks. After attempting to free my friend from her horticultural captor, I like that, I felt the familiar tingle of nettle stings and annoyingly prickling at my fingertips. This was not the start to the adventure we had imagined. Nevertheless, we continued to clamber as we were determined to investigate the highest point of the embankment at the rear of our adjoining homes. Rising high above the ordinary row of terraced houses, the seemingly perpendicular hill had been tempting to us all summer. Not because it was anything special, there was nothing grand or remarkable about it at all. The appeal came from the fact that we were forbidden to play there, and so 2 small children, this was enough. We had marvelled at the bigger boys who had bravely stolen wire cutters from the nearby allotments and watched jealously as almost every afternoon they disappeared together through the hole they had snipped into the fence. So this is how we found ourselves, scratched, stung and sore, disobediently trespassing on an old earthwork owned by British Rail. Upon reaching the brow of the mound, we stopped to catch our breath and consider our surroundings. Unimpressed by what we discovered there, we nonchalantly wandered down a cinder path, stopping periodically to gather small posies of clover, daisies and buttercups until boredom got the better of us. We pondered the appeal of the place and thought it was perhaps time to head home when we spied a great grey cloud on the horizon. It came into view quite unexpectedly and appeared to be heading towards the pair of us at an alarming rate. We exchanged worried glances, searching each other's faces in the hope of finding an explanation there for the strange anomaly before us. Suddenly, we became aware of a deep rumbling sound. accompanied by a shrill whistle, then the grinding of cogs and gears. Falling to the ground, I was roughly thrust aside by a powerful rush of air, and looking up, I could scarcely believe my eyes. Hurtling by, my friend and I, was a magnificent green steam locomotive, followed by 3 shabby but still elegant carriages. It huffed and puffed along the embankment beside us, proudly chugging coal soot and steam into the atmosphere. After such a shock, Leslie, being the oldest, gently took me by the arm and proceeded to carefully guide me back down the steep, grassy slope. Gingerly stepping back through the wire railings, we were met by an irate group of our parents and neighbours, all acutely concerned with our whereabouts. As we began describing what we had witnessed that afternoon to account for our absence, we found our explanation met with incredulous stares. The adults regarded us suspiciously and seemed completely unconvinced by our recount. Incoherently babbling about the train we had seen, we were stopped in mid-flow by my father. Taking us to one side, he patiently rationalised why our account was preposterous. Steam engines had been replaced by diesel many years previously. Trains had ceased to run along that particular line in 1964, and by 1970 the tracks had actually been removed. As if this chronicle wasn't ominous enough, there is also an uncanny postscript. Leslie and I were convinced that we had been exploring for no more than an hour at most, but according to our respective parents, we had in reality been missing for the best part of the day, hence the search party. Interestingly, the trackbed of this old rail route is still in existence. It is now the Yeadon Way, the main road out of Blackpool, Lancashire, heading towards the M55 motorway. I often wonder if anyone else has borne witness to the phantasmagorical phenomenon of the spectral ghost train. Now, you know that's a good one because everyone has stopped talking in the comments. It's always a cracking sign of that when people are like just, oh my God, listening to it.
True.
You know it's a good one.
I like that story. Yeah, it's creepy. It reminded me of when I was little, because me and my sister used to have little adventures where we'd go off places. And,
I completely relate to it. Yeah.
Yeah. God, can you imagine seeing a ghost train? What? Yeah, it reminds me of... we've got some other things, actually, that Daphne sent us the other day about... what do they call it? Glitches in the Matrix.
Oh, yeah, those are coming... They're down at the bottom. I've left those ones to the end because one of them particularly... I don't like it. There's one that particularly I'm just like, nope. So thank you very much to Deborah for not only sending that in, but writing it so beautifully as well. I'm a really big fan of those. Keep them coming. So where are we? So this is the second story sent in by Angie Howard. Angie sent us in the death rooms, which I liken to the Bowers Morel, but this is the second story that she sent us in. So here we go. Angie said that she found it interesting in the last episode of Tales from the Fireplace when people were mentioning children seeing things that we don't. Right, just to clarify on that, so there is a pub in York on Stonegate which is called Ye Old Star Inn. And it dates back to the early 1600s, I believe, is one of the earliest mentions of the pub. The interesting thing about this is that it's said to be haunted by a number of spirits, particularly an old woman who is seen climbing up a staircase, and she's only ever seen by small children. And we've had a few people bring in stories like that where they say that the only people who saw the ghost or the spirit or the apparition was a small child. She says, I always remember one of my work colleagues talking to me about her son. She was worried about him. They'd recently moved house, and their new place was a really old building near a church. She said that they had been told it was once something to do with the vicarage. She told me that she would walk past the front room and her son, who were about 5 or 6, would be chatting away with the boy as if he was talking to someone, but there was never anyone there. Now, at first, she thought he was doing it for attention or playing up because he hadn't wanted to move house. However, one day she was sitting with him and he suddenly stopped and stared out into the hallway. She asked him what was wrong, and he said, "Oh, the man just walked past." She asked him, "What man?" And he said, "The man I talked to. He lives here." She asked him what the man looked like, and he described a dirty-faced man in a shirt with sleeves rolled up, a waistcoat, and a funny, flat cap. My colleague said that she was really freaked out as this description was really detailed, and she didn't know how he would have known at this young age what type of clothing someone from the past would have worn, especially as the description sounded like some sort of labourer. She didn't know what to do as her son was not at all scared by this, and she didn't want to make him scared by her own reaction, but it really freaked her out. My colleague decided to just let it be, and says that she never saw anything or felt anything sinister or bad in the house, but just kept hoping that her son would stop seeing this man eventually. I was thinking that maybe this is what a child's invisible friend is, something they see or react to that grown-ups can't see. Grown-ups need a way to explain it so they can deal with it, which is why we dismiss it as an invisible friend, and maybe that's why they grow out of it. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that gave me a little chill.
Do you have an invisible friend?
We'd have to ask my mum that.
I didn't have any. I don't think I did.
I think I definitely used to write letters to people that weren't real.
What?
But, yeah, that was the thing. But I don't know if I had an imaginary friend.
Not sure how I feel about that. Who were these letters to?
Various people. I just used to have like little notebooks that I wrote letters to people in about. I also used to write letters, write things about my future self.
Okay.
Like writing letters to a friend about my life, but it was my life that I thought I'd have in the future. And it wasn't anything.
Were you anywhere near
No.
what
I was
we're doing now?
married to Ronan Keating. So,
Oh, okay.
you know, off of Boyzone. That's not really.
I was just looking at myself in the screen and thinking, do I have anything vaguely Ronan about me? And not in the slightest.
No.
We've both got massive foreheads. So
I thought
maybe
you meant me.
Well, you've got a pretty big forehead as well. We've all got it's good foreheads, good strong thinking foreheads. You've got a beautiful forehead. I had enough brothers and sisters, no room for an imaginary friend. I had an imaginary friend, but he was a lorry called Laurie, not a person. Don't know if you can have a ghost lorry.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, that's reminded me of something when I was younger. Before I tell this story, I don't want anyone to worry about my mental state. I'm doing all right.
It's a bit late for that, darling.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit late, isn't it? I had a recurring nightmare when I was a teenager about a black transit van. Just a weirdly windowless black transit van that could move impossibly fast. And I kept having a recurring dream that it would squash my friends. It was definitely not a friend called Laurie. It was just an evil... And it went
Maybe it was Laurie.
Went on for a very long time. There you go.
Maybe...
I had an imaginary dog. He was
Danielle.
a black dog called Dog.
Oh.
I had an axolotl once. And an axolotl is a large... It's an amphibious little creature with little legs and arms. And he was really fat, so I just called him Big Fish.
Oh.
He just called Big Fish.
But he was real, he wasn't imaginary.
Oh, no, he was definitely real.
And there's nothing scary about him.
No, nothing. Well, it depends. Some people find him quite freaky. If you've never seen an axolotl, you should Google them. They're quite magnificent.
They live in the dark?
They don't like bright lights.
Do people keep them in a fridge?
I don't think you keep them in a fridge. That's a little strange. Anyway, this has gone weird. Let's bring it back in. So the next section, these were actually found by Daphne Deathley, and they were found on the internet. God, you can tell she's modern. She knows the internet.
She's a modern bird.
She's a modern bird. She's up on Reddit. So this is a story that was written by, and I'm so happy I get to say this word out loud, Reddit user called Kawapple. Brilliant. Brilliant. I remember being pretty young, like 9 or 10, and I was in the car park of a pub. And I recall seeing someone in their teens in the window of a house looking out over the car park. They waved at me and I felt like I knew them somehow. My parents asked me who I was waving at, and I said, oh, it's just someone in the window over there. Didn't think much of it. So we fast forward 10 years. I was at my nan's new house, and I remember walking into her room, which I was never allowed to do, going into the window, and I realised that I was in this house looking out over the same parking lot, and I remember the interaction from years before. And at that moment, a girl around 9 or 10 was in the car park. She waved at me, and I waved back, and I felt like I knew her from somewhere.
Yeah, right?
What?
That's great, isn't it?
What?
Yeah. I love that. Oh, I tell you what. I'm obsessed with, like, time travel and stuff like that at the moment.
Gulp.
I'm watching something on Netflix. Other streaming services are available. That very much reminded me of that.
Oh, Vicky Broomhead has said, "What's the rectangle in the top right behind Mrs. Deathly? It looked like there were lights."
This is the window.
Oh, the black thing. Yeah, that's just a window. We are in the basement, but they've allowed us a sort of 60 by 20 centimetre piece of glass to let the light in. Thanks for that. But yes, Coapple said, Coapple, brilliant, has said, "I could not explain it and I've never told anyone about it. It freaked me out. Never told anyone about it until they told the entire internet." So there you go. So we've got another one.
These stories were from Reddit, but they actually came from a... what's the word I'm looking for? They were a post on the internet where they had... collated about 13 different stories that people had posted on Reddit.
And that's good.
Yeah.
So just as we're approaching the final few stories now, as always, if you've had a bizarre encounter, a ghostly apparition, am I right in thinking that we've pretty much exhausted our supply now? This is kind of it now, isn't it? We've only got a handful that we haven't spoken of.
We just do keep getting sent them.
So please do keep sending them in, particularly if you've got photographs or videos to go with your story. And they don't have to be supernatural. Like if you've got a story of something that happened to you when you were younger, and you do indeed have photographs of that house or where it happened, send those along with it, because as you can see tonight, I think it's when I can throw something visual with the story, it adds such more weight to it. But yeah, wait till the end. Don't do them now because obviously we'll get barraged, but wait till the end of the stream tonight and then send us over a story. Or two or three, because we love them, we can't get enough.
I'll tell you what as well, while we're on the subject, maybe if anybody has a building or works somewhere that they think might be haunted, and it's nearby, within like an hour or so travel, let us know.
Yes, we'll talk about. I've got that on me. We'll talk about that when we do the wrap down. Is that all right?
We're always looking for.
Yeah. Particularly, we've got an empty date, haven't we? I've got on my list of. It just says beg people for somewhere to go. So we'll do that in a slightly more, noble and proud way. So we have another one from Reddit here, and this one is from White Zombie Cat. And it begins with, "Oh, I have a story." So you know this is going to be good. "One time, my wife and I were coming back from a dinner night out. When I opened the door of the house, there was my wife sitting at the computer working, as I usually find her when I get home. Nothing unusual, except that she was entering the house with me at the time. I kind of shrugged it off as a weird brain hiccup and carried on. When we went to bed, I told her that I saw her sitting at the computer while she was just behind me at the same time. And she went deadly serious and told me that when I opened the door, she saw herself sitting at the computer working. It's the creepiest thing we have ever experienced."
Right, so the first time I heard that, I read it,
I just want to say I don't like that at all.
I was
don't know why.
Yeah, but why wouldn't you mention it to each other straight away? Like, you're over there, but then I reread it.
I don't want to panic you, but you're over there.
Yeah, I think it is, again, the kind of thing where he just saw it out of the corner of his eye and was like, no, that's not. Like, you grow accustomed to seeing something when you come into a door. Come into a door? When you walk into a room.
Everyone's reacting to it the same. Nope, nobody, nope.
It's really creepy.
Nope,
I just wanted to give that guy,
nope.
my backup there to say that's why he wouldn't have said something straight away. Because, yeah.
How? Ooh.
Nope.
It's a short one, but it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. Just very quickly, I just want to pick up. Robin Denise Kazmara has said in podcast. Oh, that is. I mean, kudos for paying attention. In podcast 002, you mentioned going to a house for an investigation. a movie was based on it. Is this still going to happen? Yes. We'll have more news on this around mid-October. So it's 30 East Drive, which is in Pontefract, which is said to be an incredibly haunted building. It's going to be a massive, massive event for us. It's going to be like our biggest thing that we've ever done, but it's in January. So the earliest we could get it was around Christmas time. It was like mid to late December, and we've got too many plans for spooky, Dory and deathly Mr. and Mrs. A very deathly, what's it called? A very deathly Christmas. That's what it's planned. A very deathly Christmas. We've got too many things planned for around then. So yeah, I think it's like January 20 somethings. Mid to late January. But we'll definitely post up what we're going to do. We're going to do a whole thing. We're going to have cameras all over the house. We're going to be in there for like 3 hours. Streaming live, so you can drop in and drop out, but there'll be more information on that down the road.
Doz, can I just pass on to you?
Please do.
A while back, and I forgot to mention it was about 10 minutes ago, Sharon from Friday's tour says, could you please wish Esme Evans a happy belated birthday for last Thursday and say hi to your biggest Canadian fan? Oh no, it's just skipped away. I think it's Nicole La Liberté. I recognise that name.
Esme was with me this weekend, I believe. Friday.
So it was her birthday.
Oh, I had no idea.
On Thursday.
If Esme's watching, I think I made her partner do a sexy dance to a hurdy-gurdy.
That sounds like something you do.
Yeah, that sounds like something I would do. Yeah. And this is the thing, just to say the East Drive thing, I've seen a few, obviously, you know, we live in this perfect storm, don't we? Mrs. Deathley and I, outside of doing the spooky stuff, we do a lot of creative photography and film work and stuff. So this is like wonderfully in our wheelhouse. So we're going to have webcams all over the building. We're going to have staff there that are going to run multiple cameras. We're going to have wireless microphones.
And I will be going.
Mrs. Deathley will be going. We're going to have somebody looking after the audio, the video. We're going to have someone looking after social media. It's going to be a huge event. If you remember the Ghost Watch, of course, we've talked about Ghost Watch on the podcast. It's going to have definite echoes of Ghost Watch to it. It's going to be... I'm determined to make it the highest production value investigation of 30 East Drive that's ever happened.
I think that's achievable
because we've got all the toys to play with. So we're going to have an absolute, it's going to be I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's going to be the best thing we've done. It's to this point, it's going to be the best thing we've ever done, but more information on that to follow a little bit later on. So our final thing we're going to talk about tonight, before I give you a quick rundown of what's lurking in the next few weeks, don't mention Ghost Watch. I love Ghost Watch, and I will die on this hill. Helen Edwards sent this over to us, and it's a very interesting one. It was found in the news, and again, I'm going to give you a bit of context about the image, and then I will send you the photograph. I'll put the photograph. Send you the photograph. I'll put the photograph up on the screen for you to see, and you can make your own mind up. So, at 1:53 a.m. on August 18th, Adam Lees, the managing director of Limitless Security, received an alert that there had been a CCTV alarm triggered in a closed-off building site near Broad Street in Birmingham. Now, allegedly, this is the image that was picked up by the motion-sensitive CCTV camera. When security performed a full patrol of the area just minutes later, they found it all clear. So, where is she hiding? Right there. We don't know how we feel about this one, do we?
It's a big nope from me, Doz.
You're not a fan of this one, are you?
Well, I mean, I think it's clearly someone having a laugh. Because, I mean... it's very clear. It's very clear, but it is scary.
The lean, the angle isn't right. That's the thing.
Oh no! You've given me the.
No, yeah. So let's all just look at this photograph. Okay, it's very easy to look at something like this and just say it's just a person in a white dress, but the angle of her is not right. That's the thing that immediately struck me. Yeah. Very odd. Confirmed fake, unfortunately. Oh, that's a shame.
Oh, apparently it's from a ghost app image.
Oh, is it? Okay. But again, interesting how it, you know, you guys are all there. Kate Bush passing through, just me in my night dress.
Nevertheless, it is scary.
Photoshops. Oh, that's a shame. I mean, this is the thing.
I mean, we know it's not.
Yeah, we know. I mean, the thing
is,
is again, you know, ghosts aren't that social. You know, they're notorious for being quite subtle and a little bit sketchy. No self-respecting ghost is going to just pop up that visibly. But there's no denying it's a bloody horrible image. That's the thing about it. Like, you know, fake or not, it's great. I love it. I love that it had enough enthusiasm behind it as well to actually get listed in the press.
What I wonder is, saying it's faked, who did it? Was it the security guy?
Yep.
Was it the security guy's daughter, who was the one who's been sharing it? Or was it somebody that sent it to them? Oh, I don't know. I like it.
I like it. And I like that it's still happening as well. Because we can go back to the brown lady, one of the very first images that we shared, which was, you know, taken in the days of you know, old exposure photography, where you had to, you know, press and then everyone had to stay still, and if you moved, you get that blur. And we talked about the fella that was making all the images in the Victorian times that were of, you know, that they all had that look to them, and he was faking ghost photographs, you know, spirit photography and whatnot. And I love that even now in 2020, where, I mean, I know quite a lot about video editing. It's what I do for a profession outside of the tour guide stuff, but give anybody a decent app these days and they can make a fake image that can be pulled apart really, really swiftly. And I just find that interesting that people are still they're still doing it. They're still pushing it out there just to get a little bit of notoriety. But it's a good one. It's you know, I mean, you can, all right, it's photoshopped, it's faked, but it's cracking. I love it. Terrifying. And I love that enough people fell for it hook, line and sinker that there was something to it. Yeah.
Self-respecting ghost. I'm just
it's
picturing
me.
them saying they can't go spooking with their hair a mess
for now.
or a chocolate orange in their head.
It's fantastic. I mean, if you're going to fake a ghost photograph, I mean, go subtle, you know. Just go subtle with it. Make people look for it. I think one of my favourite ones we've had so far has been the one of the one that Daphne sent in to us, which was the fellas in the flat cap. And the more we dug into that, the more we found. That was great, wasn't it? Like we initially had the little guy in the background without the hat on, and then someone was like something in the window, and we just kept going and going and going and going and going and digging and more and more and more. That was fantastic.
Creepy.
I really, really enjoyed that one. But thank you to Helen Edwards for sending that over. Even though people immediately were like, it's fake, it's nonsense. It's good nonsense. And who doesn't love a good bit of good nonsense? Nope. So, well, it's almost time to wrap up. Before we go, just a few things. Firstly, again, should you fancy it, virtual tip jar. It's down there. There. PayPal.me.
Pinned the comment.
She's pinned the thing as well, so it's quite easy for you to hurl. It should have been
annoying you the whole way through.
hurl something in if you feel like buying me and Mrs. Deathley and a cup of tea and a biscuit or two. So what have we got coming up? So if you've been paying attention, you might notice we've moved the Haunted Scarborough stream to October 4th. It was meant to be next weekend, but we've actually bumped it back to October 4th. It was just basically something in the real world has come up and we just don't have time to get over there in the afternoon. When we do a haunted stream of anywhere, we like to get out to these places maybe 4 or 5 hours before and just have a good walk around and rehearse and plan and plot. We don't just go out and go blah and start talking. We actually do like to plan them, despite how slightly mad they might seem. When we did the walls walk, I walked around the city walls once that morning, got absolutely soaked in the rain, came back here, and then went out and did it again. So I think I did something like 20,000 steps in a single day, and my feet were absolutely furious with me.
I think it was 18 and a half, so...
Oh, well, whatever.
No one likes a show.
Wasn't quite 20,000, was it? So we're going to go to Scarbs in October 4th. Next week, next Sunday, we're going to do something a little bit different. aren't we? We're going to do the event for this, probably launch the event for this tomorrow. It's not going to be one that we particularly urge sort of tip jar action for, but if you feel the urge to do so, whatever. We're just going to do it for a bit of fun. We're going to do as Mrs. Deathley and I did on a different platform, we did a lot of very big virtual quizzes. And we're gonna do one for the Deathleys. We're gonna do the Deathly pub quiz, and we're gonna maybe tell a couple of ghostly stories throughout it. But mostly, it's just for you guys to play along, have a bit of fun. We're gonna ask you some questions about the horrible histories and whatnot, all the dark, the hauntings. Just have a bit of fun with it, really. Hang out for about an hour. But we are gonna give some stuff away as well. We're gonna have a couple of actual prizes. We've got competitions that we can do during it. One of them is going to be to win a ghost from the York Ghost Merchants. Just to stress, they have nothing to do with this competition. We're not affiliated with them in any way. I will be buying a deathly dark looking ghost from the Ghost Merchants of my choosing, be like a dark black or a grey one, and then we're going to give it away on the night. There'll be details about that competition coming out shortly, but we'll announce the winner live during the pub quiz. It's just going to be a bit of fun, have a bit of a hangout. Then we'll hopefully have something in place for the next 2 Saturdays from now, Sundays from now, sorry. Again, as Mrs. Deathley said earlier on, if you know anywhere, if you work somewhere in York and you think it's got a good, interesting history and you're happy to let us in there for a couple of hours, get in touch, because we do have a little bit of a gap in the calendar. A little bit of a like, we're like not quite sure what to do with this one. Then after that, we're pretty much queued up all the way to mid-November, aren't we? So we've just got one ugly little gap. And we're trying to figure it out, but we'll get there. So, yeah, what else is there? Halloween is on the way. Dun, dun, dun. I'm doing extra tours from October 23rd, I think it is, for about 8 or 9 days. There's going to be 8 o'clock and 6 o'clock tours. Anybody who joins me for the week of Halloween, so I think that's, let me see if I can pull up a little calendar here. I think it's Friday the 23rd. Let me have a look. Yes. Anyone that joins me from Friday the 23rd, and I'm doing tours 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st, all the way to the 1st of November. So it's a Friday over the weekend, through the week to the Sunday. Anyone that joins me on one of those dates will get a special Halloween badge. So there were the black and grey Spooky Club, Deathly Dark Spooky Club ones that we gave to people for the first weekend. I'm going to get a load of extra little tiny button badges done for the 23rd till the 1st of November. They're filling up alarmingly quickly. So if you are going to join me for one of the tours of the 23rd to the 1st of November, I do suggest you get booked on ASAP. I think that's everything. I'll come back over to you, Mrs. Deathley. I've done my spiel.
Hello.
I've done my blurb. I've sold myself.
I was just looking at all the lovely comments there.
First and last name. The Digwoods would join us regular for it was the Super Hyper Mega Quiz, as it was called, but this will be the Deathly Dark pub quiz. We'll get the event up. We'll get it up tonight, actually, before we leave the office. I wanted to get a photograph of me and you behind the desk, looking a bit spooky, and then we'll get that online for you to join us for. Any final parting words, Mrs. D?
I'd just like to say I've had a really nice time.
A really nice time?
Yeah.
Lovely time.
Been at work all day. I'm a little bit sleepy, but this has cheered me right up.
Right up.
Thanks, everybody.
Oh. Well, so are we done? Shall we say goodnight?
Yeah.
Say goodnight, Mrs. Deathley.
Good night, Mrs. Deathley.